us on the phone is Mohammad Marandi, who's a professor at the University of Tehran. Welcome. To begin with, we have obviously two versions here. You have the U.S. military drone at this point, based on Western media, reporting that it was in international airspace over the Strait of Hormuz. And of course, Iran's saying specifically through the IRGC that it has shut down an intruding American spy drone in the country's southern coastal province of Hormozgan. What do you make of that?
Having a history of dishonesty, whether over the intelligence in the Iraq War, where the Americans claimed Iraq had chemical weapons and that it was working with al-Qaeda, or whether other ridiculous claims, such as in Venezuela, the Americans claimed that Hezbollah was present, or the lies that the Americans promoted Libya, and so on. We have a host of different examples of the Americans lying in order to intimidate other countries, in order to justify illegal wars, and in order to justify aggression. So obviously the American version of the events is not something that anyone is going to easily accept. But I think the most important point is that the Americans have to recognize that the Iranians are very serious about protecting their sovereignty. And if there is any aggression on behalf of the Americans, the Iranians will deal with it very severely. And even if the Americans are contemplating a limited strike on Iran, I think it's quite clear to the Americans that the Iranian response will be very severe and disproportionate, and that probably alongside retaliating against American regime installations and facilities, the retaliation will also include those regimes that are cooperating with the Americans, such as the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. So I think really the time is, now is the time for people in the United Arab Emirates to start leaving the country or to withdraw their assets if the United Arab Emirates really want to continue down this road.
Okay, the viewpoints that you just discussed, I'm guessing that it emanates, especially when you say that if the U.S. is planning a limited strike. There have been reports of this limited tactical, I believe, strike, or a technical strike. I'm not too sure the terminology that was used. In particular, it was an Israeli paper that the news source came from. Is that something that you have also heard? The plans that the Pentagon has for a limited strike on Iran?
I personally don't think that the Americans really want to carry out any form of airstrike on Iran, because the Americans have been informed that the Iranian response will be very harsh and, as I said, disproportionate. So I think at this stage, this is mostly psychological warfare. This is, when we look at it in the context of maximum pressure, I think this would fall within that framework, just as the attacks on the oil carriers. It would seem that all of these together are part of this maximum pressure by the United States in order to force the Iranians to renegotiate the nuclear deal, which is not going to happen. And the American attempts to intimidate Iran are not going to work. And the Iran's action this morning shows that even the most advanced American technology cannot be protected from Iranian defense forces. And if the Americans, as I said earlier, seriously contemplate even a small strike on Iran, they should expect a response that is significantly more destructive than anything that they would achieve in Iran.
military aircraft over the sovereign territory of Iran without the permission of the Iranian government. Under international law, this is a war crime. This is an act of war, and the Iranian government, in my opinion, responded appropriately by shooting it down. The Iranian government has shown admirable restraint in the past in the face of U.S. provocations and the buildup of U.S. military sources in the region.